Hey everybody, welcome back to the Infinite Regression. My goodness, people, you are in for a great one today. Guess what? Today we are going to talk about what might very well be the greatest party game of all time. And it's on the Atari 2600. And look, I know what you're thinking. You're like, what? They got Mario Party on the 2600? No. What? They got Smash Bros? No. They got Jackbox? No. Shut your stupid mouth. Sorry. Sorry that I had to get sassy with you for just a second. It is on the Atari 2600. You heard me right. The game we're talking about today is called Warlords. And look, this game is cheap. It is readily available. You can get it anywhere. You might have a copy right now. Go check your junk drawer. It might be in there. You don't know. Look, anytime you see a stack of like 3 or more Atari 2600 cartridges, you know that one of them is Warlords. It's ubiquitous. It's everywhere. Because if you see a small stack of Atari 2600 cartridges, first of all, someone had a very small collection, was very choosy with their hard-earned money, and so they only picked up things like Combat and, Circus Atari and Telegames, which is Pong, and then Warlords. Those are the games people had. And whenever you, as a collector, see that stack of games, you're like, oh, maybe there will be something I don't own in there. There's not. It says harder to find Atari 2600 games that you don't already own after a certain point in collecting. We all know the feeling. Anyway, this one, you seriously, if you've been anywhere near an Atari 2600 within the last, week, you may have gotten a copy on you. Like, just feel around. Check your pockets. You might have one. Like, seriously, this game is cheap. I purchased mine for like $1, and they have not gotten crazily more expensive since then. And I'm not kidding when I say that it is the best party game ever. How do I know this? Because I have put in the research, my friend. Look, when I was in college, I would have people over to my house. And I would throw parties, and people knew that my parties were the bestest because there would be a theme, there would be something where people would know, like, this is what we are doing. If you are coming over to my place, we are doing the following, And, there was always a thing that was happening that, people could get behind and be like, oh, that sounds fun. We're watching Mystery Science Theater 3000. Heck yeah, I'll show up. Of course you would to that kind of a party. And occasionally I would throw this party, which is the Warlords on the Atari 2600 party. And I'm telling you, people, it did not matter who you were. You could be that random hot college girl who does not play any video games whatsoever, not even Candy Crush. You could be that, meathead fratty type guy who like only plays Madden and Call of Duty. Like, I don't care who you are as a human being, but like, here are some facts about the world. Everybody likes good gameplay. That is a fact. And so when you create a game that just is great gameplay because it doesn't have much else to it in terms of like graphical awesomeness or anything else, not a earth-shattering soundtrack that's gonna stick with you forever. No, nothing of the sort. Like, just some odd hissy type sounds and then a 60 cycle hum in the background. That is it. That is all you get for the greatest party game ever. So what is Warlords? Well, Warlords is a game. Think of it like this. It's 4-player simultaneous Arkanoids that's, against each other. It's a free-for-all, everybody against everybody, 4-player simultaneous Arkanoids around a corner. That's what it is. Now, if you know your Arkanoid, you're like, oh, hey now, you just piqued my interest, friend, and indeed I should have, because this game is so good. Because here's the thing, when it debuted in the arcade in 1980, it actually looked like what it was supposed to be. Those of us who came up with Ataris, and specifically the 2600, you know the pain of the game that you get on the Atari not looking anything like its counterpart on the arcade version. Pac-Man, anyone? Like, come on. We all know that the Atari 2600 Pac-Man is a blight upon humanity. It is a horrible thing. A horrible, horrible thing. The game is bad, and the people who made it should feel bad. No, they did their best to try and put, an arcade game on a very underpowered console. Anyway, but yeah, here's the thing, is that, like, this machine that could barely play a horrible version of Pac-Man is much better at very specific things, which the creators of Warlords knew, and they played to the strengths of the machine and won in such a big way. Because understand this, the game came out first in the arcade, and it was a hit there, but there's an interesting back and forth between the gamers and the arcade owners. Because when it first came out on on a cocktail format in a cocktail tabletop cabinet, is what I was trying to say. My goodness. Anyway, and so, 4 players would sit around this, cocktail table, and everybody had a dial, and that's it. That is your one control for this game. You pump in your quarter, you get to play, you get to turn your little dial. That's the fun. But your character, it looked like a knight's shield with a cross on it. You're like, oh, I'm a serious crusader. And then there's this ball of fire just flying around, and you can reflect it with your shield and sometimes catch it with your shield, depending on gameplay and whatnot. Anyway, and you can fling it at the castle of your opponents. Everybody has a castle with what looks like a Darth Vader head on it. I don't know what that is or why, but it looks like Darth Vader head. But yeah, the fireball looks like a fireball, and the castle looks like a castle, and the shield looks like a shield. And there are sounds that sound like the things that they're supposed to be, And it was a really fun game, and people liked it. And then the arcade owners were like, we don't like how much space it takes up. We want it in an upright cabinet. And so they got that, but at the cost of 2 of the 4 players. Suddenly it's only 2 dials. Not as much fun on those 2-player cabinets, am I right? You want the 4. Anyway, so, when they translated it to the Atari 2600, they couldn't have anything look like the anything that it was. No more Darth Vader helmet. Suddenly, you've got a weird pennant flag-ish thing, right? And your wall is much more blocky and less certain of where the block separations are, and which is always fun. And the fireball is like a square, and your paddle looks like a paddle. It's not a shield anymore. But you get your little Atari 2600 paddle, and you've got your little knob that you can turn, and that's what you do. You can turn the knob, and you can try to block your wall from getting knocked down and knock down everyone else's first. That's the point of the game. Now, it's very simple. It's easy to learn and difficult to master. And there are so many, look, Atari games back in the day would be like, there's 47 games on here, when in fact it's one game with 47 game modes, most of which are indistinguishable from one another. Like, for real, indistinguishable. Not so with Warlords, because you can adjust core game mechanics, like whether or not you want people to be able to catch the ball, and then decide when to release it, whether or not, like, and here's my favorite feature, find this one and use it every single time, where dead people get to play. You'll get a ghost paddle, which will only show up when the ball hits your paddle. So you got to figure out where you are without being able to see, but you can kind of sort of maybe kind of make out a ghostly reflection and figure out where it is, and then try and exact revenge from beyond the grave. And that mode, oh my god, it is so much fun, but it might ruin a friendship or two. For real. It's true. Because you can be so vindictive. And I kid you not, people who had no interest in Atari 2600 when I invited them over to play, because I had these awesome themed parties in college. They'd be like, come on over, it's Mystery Science Theater 3000 night, or tonight we're, gonna eat Cinnamon Toast Crunch and watch Voltron. And like, I just invite people to do what I was doing, and more often than not, they'd be like, this is awesome. And I'm like, yes, I live a blessed life, thank you. Anyway, so this game, I'm not kidding, guys who played nothing but Madden and Call of Duty would play this and be like, oh my god, this is the most fun multiplayer fun I've ever had, ever in my life. I'm not kidding. People would tell me that all the time. And they would look at it. Even watching it, you can't tell how much fun it is. And then you play it once and you're like, oh my god, this is really fun. Because it is. Now, look, the game has been remade multiple times on various Atari remasterdeds and whatnot, even more recently for Atari's most recent console that I don't own, the VCS. Yeah, sorry, Atari, that I didn't put out, freaking Switch money for not a Switch. Anyway, sorry, it's how I feel. But this game, I haven't played any of the remakes or remasters because I have the original. I can play it whenever I want. And it's amazing. It's still amazing. No matter how many people I've shown this to, no matter how many times I've played it. Honestly, when I tell people, like, this is the greatest 4-player party type game ever made, people always think that, like, I'm pulling their leg or something, or that, like, they'll play it and they'll be like, oh, that's okay, I guess, but, like, I played other stuff that's better. No, this is the best one. I'm sorry, that is the end of the discussion. It is. Any hoozle, people. Let me put a score on this. You got to watch me play it, but against myself, which is kind of lonely and sad. But if you own an Atari 2600, chances are you already own this game. But, like, if you don't yet, go out and get it because it's so good. You're going to want to pick up a second set of paddles. If you have a 2600 and you only have one set of paddles, go get you a second set. You're going to need them. Anyway, ladies and gents, let me put a score on this, and then we will wrap it up. Okay, not surprising, this game is getting a perfect score from me. That is a 4 out of a possible 4 flaming catapults. Also, let's, take a moment and pour one out for all the Atari 2600 kids from back in the day who saw the artwork on the back of the box and were like, oh my god, and then saw the actual gameplay footage and were like, oh my god. Big difference. That's where Nintendo got smart. They started putting the actual gameplay sprites and stuff on the front of the box, so you knew what Mario looked like, and you wouldn't be disappointed when Mario looked like Mario when you played the game. You know, they were smart when they put it like that. Nintendo was. But Atari, like, there's a really good coffee table book. I have it, of just the art of Atari video games. And so very often, like, you could flip to any page and just chuckle to yourself, knowing the vast difference between the beautiful, beautiful artwork on the box and then what the actual game looks like. I mean, come on now. You know, you see knights who are like so brave and bold and whatnot, and then you're going to move a paddle around a corner. That's it. Like, could not be farther the one from the other. Anyway, but you know what? With all its flaws, with all the everything else about it, it is still, to this day, the undisputed champ of, like, doesn't matter who you are, doesn't matter what your experience with video games has been to this point. Warlords is fun for you, and you like it. That's how it is. So, perfect score. Love the game. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. I know I waxed a bit rhapsodic, a bit ridiculous, heaping praises on this game, but it's for a reason. A lot of people love this game. Just ask around. I'm serious. People love this game. And you find people who love this game, and you play it with them, you're going to have a good time. Good time. It's just absolutely guaranteed. And if you already have a 2600, like, a very small investment for a whole lot of fun. Anyway, that'll do it for this one, people. I will see you in the next one. Okay, bye.